Hare Krishna everyone, and welcome to this presentation of the Boga offering, trying to understand how is it that food can be used as a spiritual practice and understanding the science of offering food as a medium, as a mechanism to connect to the Supreme. So Srila Prabhupada has described in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam that Krishna consciousness is a cultural presentation for the re-spiritualization of humanity at large. So it's a culture. And what is a culture? A culture is made up of dance, music, festivity, food, drama. It's made up of prayer. It's made up of cooking. It's made up of yatra. Yatra is holy pilgrimages, visiting all the holy places. It's made up of meditation, of deep contemplative prayer. It's made up of understanding culture. It's also made up of understanding nature. And it's also meant to teach youngsters about the next generation. So all these different aspects of culture one can appreciate, and the one that we're focusing on today is the one of food offering. What is this food offering, and understanding why is it essential to understanding both as a procedure and as a in the proper consciousness. And we'd like to conclude then by appreciating, is there any scientific data that can validate what is happening during a food offering? Well, let's try to look at this from different perspectives and appreciate the scientific, spiritual, and emotional strengths that one receives from food offering. So this is the Boga offering procedure as we understand it, and I know many of you are doing the Boga offering, many of you are offering your food, but by having an idea of the proper way of offering, both the procedure and by consciousness, one will have a better offering to offer to Lord Krishna. So let's go through the procedure, the first part, and understand what is the procedure, how it's done, so that if you haven't done offerings as yet, you would know how to do it. And if you are doing offerings as yet, you would perfect it to make it proper and to the proper technique. So let's take a look at this. So in Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada has described Krishna's message. And in the third chapter, there's a very profound verse that comes forward. In chapter 3, verse number 13, Krishna describes to Arjuna this very profound point of understanding what is the significance of offering one's food. So let's see what he says. He says here, Yagya Shishta Sino Santo Muchayanti Sarvikil Bishai Bujanti Ye Agam Papam Ye Pasanti Atmakaranat. So he's describing to Arjuna here that the devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is offered first for sacrifice. Others who prepare food for personal sense enjoyment verily eat only sin. So what is the understanding of this offering procedure? So one may say, well, I'm vegetarian, I don't kill animals to eat my food. Well, plants are also living entities. And if you're not offering your food, you're also getting the reaction of killing plants. Well, what about something like fruits? I mean, you don't have to kill a tree to get a fruit like an apple. But if you see the procedure of how the apple comes to you, first it is cut by the farmer, then it's packaged, then it's put into a truck, and the truck drives all the way, it comes to the shop. From the shop, the teller cashes it, and then you get hold of it. So there's a whole procedure of different people interacting with that fruit before you get it. What if on the way maybe the truck driver knocked somebody and killed somebody? Then there's karmic reaction coming to you. One may say, well, how often does that happen? Well, what about the driver on his windshield? There are small insects that are killed while the truck is driving. There are ants on the road that are killed while the truck is moving. So there's sinful reaction in every moment. And all that, where's all that reaction going to go to? It goes into, it was created because that sinful action occurred because you wanted that apple. So for that apple to come to you, all those sinful reactions have occurred. So as we see that then, so Krishna has described a very basic principle here to say, understand that if you don't offer your food, then you verily eating only sin. And it's a very profound point. It's not even a devotional point. It's an ethical point. That as much as one has to eat as to live, at the same time, if one is not offering one's food, then one is getting sinful reactions. And as if we don't have enough already, we are accumulating more and more and more. So through the science of offering one's food, one can get freed from the sinful reactions that one is accumulated over the past lives, and even in this life, one can get freed from that. That's why Krishna is saying here that the devotees of the Lord, they are released from all kinds of sinful reactions. Not only some, all kinds. So that's a great benediction, and that is many times the foundation of why people become religious, because they want to be freed from their sins, from their sinful reactions. So understanding that point, that even if it's just a basic understanding, not even a devotional understanding, then at least one should offer their food. Why? Because it frees one from all sinful reactions.
Bhoga offering procedure.
So what is the procedure to offer this bhoga? So bhoga means that which is not offered as yet. It is still in a material matter state, at least by its consciousness. And the procedure of converting that, changing that substance from bhoga into prasadam, is done through the process of the bhoga offering. So note the devotee here.
Srila Prabhupada explains the method of bhoga offering.
He's very humble and is prostrated, offering obeisances in front of the deity, because he's remembering he's dealing with Krishna directly. And Krishna is not a small person. He's the supreme personality of Godhead according to the Shastra. So it's a very profound and very aristocratic and the most supreme being that you're dealing with directly. So one is very conscious of this point, therefore is very humble. If you remember in the Krishna book, in the beginning of the Krishna book, it is described right there in the first chapter, the advent of Krishna. And at that time, Bhumi, she was very disturbed about the events that was happening on the planet. And she went to Lord Brahma and she prayed, my dear Brahma, please help. I'm so disturbed by what's going on here. And all the demigods and all of them went to Lord Brahma, and Brahma couldn't do anything. He says, well, what can I do? And I'm in trouble, I go to Vishnu. So let's we all go. So they all went to the border of the milk ocean, and from there Lord Brahma prayed to Lord Vishnu. Tena Brahma Hridaye Adi Kavaye. From the heart, Lord Brahma prayed, and Lord Vishnu didn't even communicate with him directly. It was through the heart that he told him, don't worry, Brahmaji, I will be coming to the earth planet soon, and we will take care of all these problems. So the point I'm making is that even great demigods couldn't speak to Vishnu or Krishna directly. They had to do it from the heart. They had to go up to the milk ocean. They couldn't go further than that. And here, through the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, through the devotee, we are having direct access to Krishna. Hmm? So this point is mentioned in the 4th chapter of Gita. Sa eva mayate dya yoga prokta puratanaha bhaktosi me sakha cheti rahasyam hietad uttamam. So this secret, rahasyam, is uttama, topmost secret of understanding devotion and devotional service. Who will know this then? The demigods don't seem to understand a lot about it. Brahmaji himself has some understanding about it, but who actually has a full understanding? Bhakto sime sakha cheti. The devotees, they're the ones who are living it every day. They're the ones who are living the practice or living the culture. So if you want to know, you have to approach the devotees. So this is why if we want to learn how to approach Krishna, and who is Krishna? He's the supreme pure, as Arjun has declared. Param Brahman, Param Dhaman, Pavitram Paramam Bhavam, Purusham Shashvatam Divyam Adi Devam Majam Vibhum. So he's described as Pavitram, the supreme pure. So if we're going to offer something to Krishna, it has to be of a very high quality. It has to be very pristine, so that he, being the supreme pure, will at least look and consider it as an offering. But what is it that Krishna is accepting? He is not accepting the physical item directly. He is accepting the devotion in which it was made. So the initial procedure of being very humble, remember we're dealing with Krishna directly, is not a small personality. Keeping that in mind, that this is Krishna I'm dealing with. So the devotee becomes very humble. So he offers obeisances.
In a letter to a devotee, he explains, regarding your question about offering prasadam, whatever is offered to the deity actually goes through the spiritual master.
So in a letter, Prabhupada mentioned to a devotee that the process of offering bhoga goes through the spiritual master. Because whatever we lack in purity, the spiritual master compensates for. Remember again, Krishna only accepts those items that are pure. So whatever we lack in purity, the spiritual master compensates for. So first we offer through the spiritual master because he's so dear to Krishna.
The spiritual master offers to Lord Chaitanya,
and then the spiritual master, he in turn offers it to Lord Chaitanya.
And Lord Chaitanya offers it to Krishna.
And then Lord Chaitanya offers the bhoga to Krishna. So it goes up a chain, the parampara chain, right up to Krishna. So if there's anything lacking in any way, due to these great devotees' bhakti, their devotion, Krishna accepts whatever we don't have in the pure form.
Put a tulsi leaf on each preparation and place the plate in front of the deities.
So tulsi is added. And why is tulsi added? And who is Tulsi? She is Keshava Priya. Vrindaya Tulasi Devaya Priyai Keshava Sacha. She is dear to Keshava. Vishnu Bhakti Pratadevi Satyavatai Namo Namaha. So she is very dear to Krishna. And Krishna is, mentioned in 9.26 of Bhagavad Gita. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhakta prayochati tataham bhakti upahritam asnami prayata atmanaha. If one offers me a fruit, flower, leaf or water with love and devotion, then I will accept it. So that leaf there, Prabhupada mentions in the purport, is the tulsi leaf. So she's very dear to Krishna. And by putting, this is spiritual garnishing, by garnishing the food items with tulsi, it becomes very attractive for Krishna, and whatever we lack in our devotion, she compensates for that.
Requesting the Lord with utmost love and devotion by chanting these prayers 3 times.
So note the procedure. The prayers are chanted 3 times while ringing a bell.
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे.
So those were the mantras for the Guru, for spiritual master. So you chant them 3 times.
Next, offer prayers to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
And now to Lord Chaitanya.
Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha. And finally, to Lord Krishna.
And then the third part, again 3 times to Lord Krishna.
Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagadhitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Meditate on Lord Krishna by chanting Gayatri mantras.
So usually after the offering, or while the offering is going on, then the devotee, if he is second initiated, then he or she will chant their Gayatri mantras. So how do you do that? You chant the Guru Gayatri, and if you had deities of Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda, then you chant the Gaura Gayatri. And if you have deities of Krishna or Balaram or Vishnu Tattva, then you chant the Guru Gayatri and you chant the Gopal Gayatri mantra. And if you have deities of Radha and Krishna, then you chant the Guru Gayatri and the Kama Gayatri at the end. So that would take between 5 and 10 minutes, and that's the time that one uses for the offering, to leave the offering on. So what happens if I don't have deities then? No problem. One can chant then the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra during that time for at least 5 to 10 minutes, which is one round.
Or the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Allow the Lord to accept the offering for 5 to 10 minutes. Then ring the bell and thank the Lord for accepting the Naivedya.
So you leave it for 5 to 10 minutes and you thank the Lord for accepting this Naivedya. So in the scripture, you'll very rarely find the word Prasadam, but you'll definitely find the word Naivedyam. Naivedyam, Mahatmya, the glories of Mahaprasadam. So this is the terminology that is used there. Naivedyam, Krishna's remnants directly.
And remove the plate. Ideally, one should think of Krishna while preparing the food. Cleanliness should be maintained and stale food must not be offered.
So note, after he is offered, he's covered it with a cloth because maybe animals will see it, or maybe some family relatives, or somebody may lust over the food. So to prevent that, it is covered with a cloth.
Needless to add that it should be vegetarian food without eggs, onion, or garlic. One should not taste food during its preparation, not even to see if it's done or if it is seasoned properly. Krishna should be the first to relish prasadam.
We have to.
So that was the procedure, and I think most of us are familiar with it, but that is the exact procedure of how to offer the prasadam. Now, what is the consciousness of one to offer the prasadam? What should be the consciousness? Because that's the main ingredient that Krishna is attracting Krishna to come and accept this Bhoga offering. So what is the consciousness then? So let's hear from Srila Prabhupada how one should actually do a Bhoga offering procedure in the right consciousness. So let's hear this.
Keep ourselves always in the fire of Krishna consciousness.
So Prabhupada is saying we should always try to keep ourselves in the fire of Krishna consciousness.
Then everything is all right.
And in that way, everything will be all right.
Otherwise, it will become dull.
Otherwise, our spiritual life will become dull.
And it will be simply idle worship.
And your deity worship, because without deity worship, how will you get prasadam? Then, with your deity worship will become idol worship.
That's all. That is the difference between idol worship and deity worship.
And that is the difference between idol worship and deity worship. Hmm? So we've been around, traveling around, and we sometimes have the fortune of having programs in other temples. And when you look at the deities there, you can see they just offer maybe once a year on the appearance of that deity, they'll have a celebration by offering something, some or once a week at a minimum, or once a month. But the deity is a person. So if you deal with the deity as a person, would you just eat once a week then? So by dealing with the deity as a deity, it reciprocates as a deity. By just seeing it as an idol, then it will remain an idol. So let's see what Prabhupada is saying.
If there is no life, then it is idol worship, heathenism.
If there is no life, then it is idol worship. So you have to inject life into your Krishna consciousness. You have to be aware of what you're doing and try to improve on those standards that you've set.
When there is life,
And when there is life
feeling,
and feeling. Now, in this particular lecture, note how many times Prabhupada uses this word feelings and feeling, trying to feel what you're offering, your devotion, trying to understand feelings in the offering procedure.
where is Krishna?
How to keep that consciousness? By remembering, where is
Here is
Krishna?
Krishna.
Oh, here is Krishna here.
Oh, I have to serve Krishna.
Oh, I have to serve
I have
Krishna.
to dress him. I have to
I have to dress him.
serve Radharani. She
I have to serve
is
Radharani.
there. Oh, I must do it very nicely.
I must do it very nicely.
And as far as possible, decorate her to the best capacity.
And try to decorate her to the best of my
If
ability.
you always feel,
In this way, if you always feel, there's this word again, feel,
Krishna conscious,
Krishna conscious,
then you are fire. The same example, keeping with the path.
then you'll be like in the fire of Krishna consciousness. And we find this sometimes, don't we? That our Krishna consciousness goes up and down, or sometimes you're not so inspired. So, how to keep inspired? We have to be conscious. I'm dealing with Krishna, I'm dealing with Radharani. I want to decorate them nicely. What new can I add in today? What more can I add in to make them look more beautiful? Meditate on them. Remember them when you're going out shopping. Think about them. What can I buy for them?
If you think it is a brass made dull, I mean to say, idol,
But if you think this is just a brass made dull idol,
Nijadhamang prabhaddante tang sutaiva bhajam. If you think this is a brass made idol,
then if you think this is an idol, just an idol here, I'm just playing a game, ringing the bell and putting some food items here and closing the curtain, opening the curtain and hoping something happens. If you think this is just like an idol, then
it will remain a brass made idol to you forever.
it will remain a brass idol to you forever. So we don't want our deity worship to come down to that level.
But if you elevate yourself to higher platform of Krishna consciousness,
But if you elevate your consciousness, elevate yourself to higher levels of Krishna consciousness, then what will be the effect?
then this Krishna will talk with you.
Then Prabhupada is saying this Krishna will talk with you. Krishna will talk. The deity will start to talk to you.
This Krishna will talk with you.
This Krishna will talk with you, Prabhupada is saying.
There is a Banshidas Babaji Maharaj. He was talking with his deity. Krishna, just like Mother Maha.
So we know in Vrindavan there's this beautiful temple of Sanatan Goswami, Radha Madan Mohan temple on the hilltop. Beautiful temple there. So the temple 500 years ago was not built at that time. So this deity was talking to Madan Mohan. Madan Mohan was talking to Sanatan Goswami. Let's hear.
He was talking with Sanatana Goswami. Madan Mohan, Sanatana Goswami at that time had no temple. He was hanging his deity on the tree.
So that time there was no temple. So what to do? So he would hang the deity in like a bead bag, put the deity in the bag and hang him on the tree. That's how he kept him. There was no temple at that time.
So Madan Mohan was talking, he saying, Sanatan, you are bringing all these dry chapatis and it is stale.
So he was complaining to Sanatan Goswami, oh Sanatan, you're bringing all this dry chapati here and stale also. Remember, Vrindavan now, we got Loy Bazaar, we got Bihari Lal shop, lassi, all these things you can get now. That time, 500 years ago, what was there? It was all forest, jungle. So where is he going to get food items from? Hmm? So he was bringing this dry chapati dough. In Sanatan Goswami used to make this item called batti. It is dough. It is like a ball of dough, and you put it into fire, and the outside gets burnt like a crust. And then you break out the crust and eat the inside part. It's like what we call gulgula, but we fry that. This is put directly in fire. So he was offering like those kind of things to Madan Mohan, and no salt also.
Hey, don't give me little salt. How
And he was complaining, even no salt in that food item also. How to eat this thing, Baba? So Sanatan Goswami is saying, oh my dear Madan Mohan, what can I do?
can I eat?
So Krishna was complaining, how I can eat this thing? No salt and dry, stale chapati, and how to eat this thing?
Sanatan Goswami says, sir, where shall I go? Whatever I get,
And
I
then
know.
Sanatan Goswami is saying, where shall I go? What can I do? I'm just, whoever is around, I'm just collecting some offerings from them to offer to you.
You kindly accept. I cannot move, old man.
So I'm old man now. Where can I go? Please accept whatever I'm just giving you.
So Krishna had to eat that.
So Krishna had to eat that. So what is it that Krishna was eating? Was it just that dry chapati, no salt that Krishna was eating? What will make the Lord eat that food? Let's hear from Prabhupada.
Because the bhakta is offering.
Because the bhakta is offering. Because the devotee is offering,
He cannot refuse.
he cannot refuse. Hmm? Because the devotee is offering, he cannot refuse. Because the bhakta is offering, Krishna cannot refuse.
Dhiman bhaktya prajach. Real thing is bhakti.
The real thing is bhakti. Prabhupada is saying, the real thing is bhakti.
What you can offer to Krishna, everything belongs to Krishna.
Otherwise, what can you offer? Everything belongs to Krishna. What can you offer to Krishna?
What you have got.
What you have got that belongs to you. If your body itself doesn't belong to you, then anything belongs to the body is also doesn't belong to you. But Krishna is the supreme bhokta. Bhokta jagatapasyanam sarvaloka maheshwaram surita sarvabhutanam gyatva mam shantimicchati. He is the supreme enjoyer, bhokta, Krishna. So, and sarva loka maheshwar, he is controlling, he is the control of all the lokas, maheshwara. And being such a powerful person, surita sarvabhutanam, he is wanting to be the well-wishing friend of everyone. Surita. This is Krishna. So Prabhupada is bringing that point. Let's hear further.
What is your value?
So what is the value of what you can offer? Is it so pure? No, it's not even so pure. Material things are never pure.
And what is the value of your things?
And what is the value of your
It is
things?
nothing.
It's actually nothing.
Therefore, the real thing is bhaktya.
Therefore, the real thing that Krishna is accepting is bhaktya.
Real thing is your feeling.
Again, you hear this word? Feelings. The real thing is your feelings.
Krishna,
And this is how Prabhupada is saying now how to offer. So please listen attentively. He's saying, oh my dear Krishna,
kindly take it.
kindly take this thing.
I have no qualification.
I have no
I
qualification.
am most rotten fall.
I am most rotten, fallen person.
But I have brought this thing for you. Please take.
But I have brought this thing for you. Please take it. And Prabhupada starts to cry. So I know how you're feeling right now watching this video and hearing this. So if you had ever offered food in this kind of consciousness, nobody has to tell you that it's prasadam. You understand, you'll feel it in your heart, yes, this has been accepted by Krishna. So I had been serving the deities of Vrindavan for the past 12 years, and it took me many, many years before I came across this lecture to realize how actually to offer. And when I finally heard this lecture, it changed my whole life around in understanding how to offer to Krishna and what is accepted by Krishna. So when I heard this lecture, then I changed my consciousness in understanding. So every time I would put a plate in front of the deities of Krishna Balaram or Radhe Shyam, I would pray in this way as Prabhupada has taught us. My dear Krishna, I have brought this thing for you, but I am so fallen and rotten person. But I have brought this thing for you. Please, please accept this. And when you offer with this kind of mood and with Tulsi there and with through the Guru Parampara, then nobody has to even tell you that this is prasadam. You will know this is prasadam.
This will be accepted.
And he's crying there and saying, please accept it, Krishna.
Don't be perturbed.
And Prabhupada is saying, don't think, yeah, I offered yesterday, there's Krishna here, Om Fat Fat Pada Fat. Quickly just put it there in front and ring the bell, close the curtain, wait for 5 minutes, hey, quickly, leave the kachori behind, make sure I get my items there. And that kind of offering, you know how it was done. But when you're offering like this with tears in the eye, Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena, Santasa eva hridaya vilochayanti, Yam Shama Sundaram, Achintyam Gunaswarupam, Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajame. When the eyes are anointed with love, then nobody has to tell you this is prasadam. You know when you offered it, you know how you offered it, you know it is prasadam because Krishna felt that love that it was put there with. So Prabhupada is saying, be careful.
Always be careful.
Always be careful because we take it for granted, we just offering and put it there. Remember, even the demigods couldn't approach directly. They had to go through Brahma, and Brahma only could go to the milk ocean. And that was for connecting to Vishnu, not even Krishna directly. Here, through the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we can approach Krishna directly. Kali Yuga products. And we can approach Krishna directly. So remember, we're dealing with Krishna.
You are dealing with Krishna. That is my request.
So that is my request, Prabhupada is saying.
Thank you very
Thank you very much. So we've seen the consciousness of how one should offer now. So we've covered two aspects of this presentation. We've seen the consciousness and we've seen the procedure and the consciousness. Now let's see if there's any scientific backing of this Boga offering. I mean, science has advanced so much over the years, and Srila Prabhupada had even created a scientific wing to ISKCON called the Bhaktivedanta Institute. So let's see then, is there anything that can explain what is going on when food is offered? Let's try to see.
Mankind's sacred books contain stories about people who were able to create miracles because of their profound spiritual knowledge. How this hidden effect works is not known. In all of the world's religions, Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, it is the practice to recite a prayer before taking food or to consecrate the food during major religious holidays.
So all these religions are different. Islam, Judaism, Christianity, and even Vedic culture, Krishna consciousness. But see that they consecrate the food. What do we call this? Purifying with water? What do we call it? Achmanyam. We call it Achmanyam. So they may be using a brush there to put holy water over the food to consecrate it, to sanctify it. But we do the same thing after every offering. When we have the offering to do, then before we do the offering, we summon all the holy rivers to enter into the conch shell. Ganga cha Yamuna chaiva Godavari Saraswati Narmada Sindhu Kaveri Jalesmin Sanidin Kuru. So we invite all the holy rivers to come in, and then we use that water to sprinkle over the boga plates. So this is the same thing they're doing here. And note, these are all different religions. They're all different religious traditions. How is it that they have this aspect of consecration of food as a common ground?
How often do we stop and think, what for?
So how often do we think about this? Why do we do this?
And how did the certainty arise in such dissimilar religions that this is the right thing to do?
And how is it that we all are different religions, but this is the right thing to do, to consecrate the food or to purify the food with water? Well, let's see.
Why did something that science is only now trying to understand seem obvious to our ancestors? It turns out that the frequency of vibrations in the prayers of any religion, uttered in any language, is 8 hertz.
So any time anybody does a prayer, the frequency of that vibration is equal to 8 hertz.
Which corresponds to the frequency of the oscillations of the Earth's magnetic field.
And the Earth has a magnetic field of 8 hertz also, so they both correlate.
Therefore, a prayer pronounced with love.
Aha! A prayer pronounced with love. And where did we hear this statement before? A prayer pronounced with love. Yes, in Bhagavad Gita 9.26, Krishna mentions the same phenomena. What does he describe there? Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhaktya prayojati tataham bhakti upahritam asnami prayata atmanaha. So it describes here, if one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, flower, fruit, or water, I will accept it. So love and devotion. And here's a scientist saying the same thing, that if this food offering, food is offered with love and devotion, something happens to it. So what happens to it? Let's see.
Creates a harmonic structure in water.
It creates a harmonic structure in water. So the foundation of the science is water. And you know, every food item has water. If food didn't have water, you won't need to wash your hands after you eat. So every food item has water. And what happens when love or devotion is expressed towards the offering, it changes the molecular structure of water within that food item. That changes when love is offered. This is what the scientist is telling us.
Which is an ingredient of absolutely all food.
And water is an ingredient of all food.
We now have some idea about how this happens through the structurization of water clusters, water molecules. Therefore, we can take some purely practical advice from this.
So what can a scientist tell us? What advice can he give us about food and eating of food? Let's hear.
To sit down at the table in a very good mood.
So when you're eating, sit down at a table in a good mood.
And under no circumstances to dine with cruel or aggressive-minded people.
And under no circumstances to dine with cruel or aggressive-minded people. Why? Because just as good food has been changed, the water structure has been changed by devotion or love to become something spiritual or positive, then by negative, by the same token, if somebody has negative energy or negative thoughts or anger or aggressive people, that will change the food back into that way. Now can you see how susceptible food is to vibration, emotional energies? Now what to speak of eating in a restaurant then? What do you know what you're getting there? You think all those restaurant workers are happy? Not getting tips? And what's happening? You ever been into a restaurant kitchen and see what happens in the back there? So all that food is actually becoming sick. And that food that you're consuming, it may taste nice to the tongue, but what it's made up of and composed of, that is very detrimental to the body because it's not offered with love. Again, here, you remember the first verse we quoted, 3.13, where Krishna is saying there, it's verily you're eating only sin if it's not offered. So even in a health way, this is now being proved to be to offer your food is the best thing to do.
Because this will have a direct destructive effect on our health.
So here the scientist is saying it'll have a direct destructive effect on your
We have
health.
totally indisputable evidence that prayer influences sick people to get better. And it's caused absolutely fantastical recoveries, such as the spread of gangrene suddenly stopping in a person who already had it.
So how does prayer affect somebody? By prayer that you affect somebody, even something like gangrene can change? Well, by the same token, the human body, and this is a fundamental point, the human body is made up of 80% water. So if prayer can change food by love into spiritual food, in the same token, because of the water changing, in the same token, the human body is made up of 80% water. That means by prayer and love, the human body can also change.
With holy water, when it is poured over sick animals or a dying plant, they revive.
So holy water, and we use this for everything. Every offering that Krishna is offered with, on his plate is a cup of water, and that water is holy water. We take Charanamrita every day. That is holy water. We do abhisheks. That is holy water. So understanding the power of holy water, it can even bring plants, help plants, it can help animals. A sick animal can benefit from it. So understanding the power of what is happening with water, now even science is matching that.
Those are the facts, and no physical chemist currently is able to understand it. They simply can't.
January the 18th. It is the eve of the Orthodox Feast of the Epiphany.
So there is a very special festival that goes on in the Christian calendar around January. So let's take a look at this.
2 flasks are filled with ordinary tap water.
So it's a prayer ceremony that is done. So scientists took this opportunity to test the power of prayer. So they took 2 flasks with ordinary tap water. There's nothing special about it, ordinary tap water. And
Early in the morning, one of them is set inside the church.
so one is kept outside and one is set inside the prayer place, the church.
Near the vessel over which the sacrament of sanctification is to be performed.
And this is just kept near, not even on it or offered or anything. It's just kept near that place where the offering was going to be done.
Every year on January 19th, the faithful and even non-believers hurry into churches to pick up some of the baptismal water. It is believed to possess extraordinary properties.
So this water, baptismal water, was just kept. This is the water that they did the offering with, but this glass beaker was kept near that offering. So we know in our tradition we do abhishek, which we bathe the deity directly with. We take Charanamrita directly from the Lord's body. It's bathe the Lord's body. We take Krishna's Maha water. How many of you come to the temple and actually take some Maha water? How many of you actually have drunk direct Maha water, collect it in a bottle? So let's see the effects of this Maha, this holy water.
In order to confirm or refute this, the 2 flasks were taken to the laboratory for study immediately after the service.
So after the service was done, they took these 2 flasks to the laboratory.
Here, the water was frozen in a cryogenic chamber and photographed under the microscope. The crystals of the tap water looked like a chaotic, diffused spot.
So this is what was kept outside. It's just a chaotic, diffused spot. Nothing special about it. This is what is ordinary tap water. What about the water that was kept in the church?
While the water that had been in the church had the rectilinear symmetrical form of a six-pointed star.
And the water that was in the church became a six-pointed star. And yet it's the same water. It was just kept near that energy field. And look at what happened to this water. And if you know the Christian tradition, I think the six-pointed star is the Star of David. So here, can you imagine then when we are offering water directly on the deity, Abhishek, when we are taking Charanamrita every day, Maha water every day, then what is the effect of that?
It is well known that holy water has a very powerful and stable structure.
So if this water is so powerful, how much of water do you think is needed? Say if I want to convert a 60-liter drum of water, ordinary tap water, into holy water, how much do I need to add into it? One drop, you say? Well, you seem to have a lot of faith there. But let's see what the science says.
This water can pass its properties. Take only 10 grams of it and dilute it in 60 liters of common water, and the whole amount will have the properties of the holy water.
So it says take 10 grams. 1 teaspoon is 5 grams. So 1 tablespoon of water can make a 60-liter drum of water. All that becomes holy water. So can't we use this? Taking Maha water from the temple and everything we drink, put it into the teapot, put it into our water jugs, put into everything that we drink, and we'll be constantly drinking Maha water. And what is the effect of it? Remember, our bodies are made up of 80% water. So our constitution will change just by drinking that Maha water, because our bodies are also made up of water. So can you see how scientific? Is there any other form or system of knowledge on the planet that can explain these concepts like Krishna consciousness has? So everything Srila Prabhupada has given us is absolutely scientific. And now the science is even matching up to it, where we can see and understand the effects of water in this way.
Perhaps scientists will tell us sometime what prayer is. Perhaps scientists will tell us sometime what happens with human nature under the influence of divine grace.
Если проследить упоминание о воде в Священном Писании,
If we trace the references to water in the Holy Scripture, they are often associated with the idea of purification.
See, again, water is used or associated with the idea of purification. Achmanyam means to purify with water. Again, different religions, but the same concept is there.
There have been many wars on religious grounds in human history, but in our experiment, water reacted to individual words that had a religious content by forming beautiful crystals.
So this Dr. Emoto, has taken water and he's done experiments with it and seeing how they respond. How does water respond to spiritual words? Let's see.
This means that the conception of our nature coincides with each religion.
That means religiously, if by our nature it's compatible, nature and religion is compatible. Otherwise, how it's affecting each other in this way? How are we able to just pray and water in food can change? That means by nature, our nature and the nature of the planet is religion and nature are compatible. So that's a very interesting thing to see that. How is that so?
The Christian prayer.
So this was the Christian prayer. It was prayed onto water, and this is the shape that it formed.
The Buddhist prayer.
This is the Buddhist prayer.
The Muslim prayer.
This is the Muslim prayer. So I'm sure you may be thinking, well, what the Hare Krishna prayer would look like, huh? Well, I don't know if Dr. Emoto has tried that yet, but it would be interesting.
Dr. Emoto presumes that serious crimes are committed most of all in areas where people curse the most often.
So, crimes are committed more where people are cursed the most often. Why? Because cursing is a negative energy, and the human body is made up of 80% water. That means by that energy, by that thought, by that energy, we are changing the body to negative, to perform and act negatively.
Idiot.
This is the word idiot. This is the shape it makes.
I hate you.
This is the shape I hate you. You can see no symmetry, no beautiful shape, very disfigured. So if you're constantly telling people I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, you're actually changing the water structure of their body to become like this. Now you see why people get sick. What a deep science this is. Have you ever heard anything like this before? This is Krishna consciousness.
Laboratory containers of water were inscribed with hieroglyphs denoting words and the names of well-known people.
So now they tried, let's put people's names. Just speak out people's names and see what effect it has on water. Let's just see that.
Love.
So this is love.
Hope.
This is hope.
Soul.
This is soul.
Mother Teresa.
This is Mother Teresa. So you can see a perfect, beautiful shape.
Hitler.
And this is Hitler. Now I'd like to ask you, if these ordinary names of people who are mortal within this world can change the structure of water like this, then what can the chanting of the holy names, Krishna's name, do to our body? If these are just ordinary mortal people and they're able to change, just their names is able to change water in this way, then chanting the holy names every day, 2 hours a day, Krishna's name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. As a spiritual practice, what do you think is happening to our body? Don't you think the body is changing? Because the body is made of 80% water. So the body is also changing. So this is scientific proof of the chanting. That if ordinary people's names, this is the shape Hitler's name makes water change to. And you saw Mother Teresa before this. So what does Krishna's name do? What is the level that Krishna's name can purify and change our body? Now we see tangible first-hand proof that by the chanting of the holy names, water can change directly. And by the chanting of Krishna's name, then what can it do for your body?
Dr. Emoto's numerous experiments aimed at finding the word that cleanses water most powerfully.
So in the conclusion then, Dr. Emoto was saying, what is the one word? Is there one word that will change water the most powerfully? And what would that be?
Have shown that it is not just one word, but a combination of two.
So Dr. Emoto is saying it's not just one word, it's a combination of 2 different words. Wow, let's see what. Because those words will be able to purify water the most rapidly. And seeing that our body is 80% water, then our bodies will be purified at the most rapid pace. So what is those 2 words?
Love and gratitude.
So it's these 2 words, love and gratitude. And this is the foundation of Krishna consciousness. This is the foundation of spiritual practice. And this is what Krishna is saying. Why? If you offer with love and devotion, then I'll accept. Because this is the thing, he is not because he wants to accept it, it's because for our benefit. Can you see that? It's because if we eat that kind of food then, which is offered with love, we the ones who benefit the most at the end, because that will change the structure of our body. And the body is made up of 80% water. Now, can you see how scientific each thing that Prabhupada has given us is so amazingly scientific?